Hola, it's Beto here, Daily Divinity Coach, here for my monthly mailbag number 10. Yes, my monthly mailbag number 10. I'm going to go ahead and tag some friends. So if you're watching a recorded video, feel free to go ahead and fast forward a few minutes while I tag some friends and we go ahead and get an audience going here. So tagging some friends, and then we'll go ahead and get an audience and we'll start the live show very soon. So again, just tagging some friends, seeing who's out there who may be available to participate in our live show here. So again, just tagging some friends, seeing who's out there and who wants to come in and participate. See who else might be out there. Yeah, I think that might do it. Just seeing if there might be one or two other people out there. Let's see. I think that's about good. So we're going to go ahead and stop there. Oh, we already got one. Shout out, Diemalu. Awesome. So, Diemalu, if you can throw some hearts in the air, let me know my sound is working. We'll just do a quick sound check, and that'll be fabulous. But wanted to make sure I got that shout out to Diemalu. Very important to always get that shout out in. There are the hearts. All right, we got sound working well. So again, I'm Beto. I'm your Daily Divinity Coach. We're here for my monthly mailbag number 10. It's August already. Can you believe it? It's Sunday, August 1st, 2021. Yeah, it's unbelievable. So what is my monthly mailbag if you've never watched before? Well, it's an opportunity for you all to pre-submit your questions to me. And I ask questions to be pre-submitted so that I can provide thoughtful responses. So your questions and my thoughtful responses are the content of today's episode. So it's going to be tremendous. I usually get like 10 to 12 questions per episode. It's summertime. People are on vacations and doing different things. So I only got 5, but they're 5 tremendous questions. So it's going to be a terrific show today. Very focused show. What else? I'm going to tell a little bit about me while we give some more time for people to join. Again, I'm Beto. I'm your Daily Divinity Coach. And I teach, what do I teach? I teach about manifesting good things, right, from your past, such as childlike curiosity. If for some reason you've lost that, that's become a negative effect of aging, that you've lost your childlike curiosity. Well, I teach on how to manifest that. Get it back! Also what? Remember that teen-like sensation you had that all good things are possible? I say teen-like because I had that when I was a teen, especially when I was 15, like all the time. When I was with my friends and whatnot, I just get this great feeling like all things are possible. Well, some people, they mature, right, quote-unquote age, and they lose that feeling. So I teach how to get it back, how to reverse these negative effects of aging. Some folk, as they quote-unquote age or mature, I don't like using the word age, because to me everybody's either young or younger. Done, right? Unless you're 800 years old, then maybe, but if you're like under 800, you're either young or younger, in my opinion. So anyhow, so what are some other negative effects of aging? Like mental agility, right? Physical agility. So getting that back, right? Because when you're young, you could jump rope all day, remember? You could, do math all day. So getting that back, right? And many other things, right? Also the future moment, right? And a lot of people talk about the future moment, right? Manifesting things, positive things, good things in the future, like a new car or peace, joy, love, right? So we talk about that too, how to do that. And then taking advantage of the present moment, right? Being able to live in the present moment while doing that manifesting, right? Of the past and the future. So that's what I teach. and I bring a lot of things in play when I speak about these things. So a little bit about me before we get going on today's episode. I have a background in theology. I'm a graduate of Harvard University Divinity School. I actually live here in Boston. I'm from San Francisco, but I live here in Boston now. So I went to Harvard University Divinity School, studied with great theologians and intellectuals, academics, including Cornel West, who's my advisor, David Carrasco, my co-advisor, but others like Jose Miguel Bonino, the great liberation theologian, Elsa Tamez out of Mexico City, and many others. So I have that background. Also, raised in a household where my mother was New Agey. I add that Y at the end because she wasn't New Age. She was a follower of the great teacher, but she was New Agey insofar as she believed in manifesting good things for your future. And also positive affirmations. She believed that in all of that. And she, I grew up around that, and I was taught that. So I got that. And then I also talk about manifesting immortality and being ageless, which was a culmination of a 10-year self-study. Looking at nutrition and fitness and all kind, ancient text and ancient wisdom, and looking at all these things and just studying it, and then culminated after 10 years and ended up me coming on social media and teaching about manifesting immortality and being ageless. So that's my background. Enough people have joined. We're going to go ahead and get started with the content of the show. So the first question is this: Beto, how many icons have you spoken about on your live shows? So this is a really hard question to answer. I spent a lot of time trying to come up with a number, and I couldn't because I've mentioned and talked about so many icons. So what I decided to do is come up with a list and categorize the icons that I've talked about that I remember. Because again, there are probably more than this list, but I wanted to categorize them so I can answer this question to the best of my ability. So I don't have a number, but here's how I'm going to answer this question is by providing the names of icons per category that we've talked about on these shows. So we're going to start with music. Talked about Sade Adu, my favorite artist, the great British soul. Oh, you can't really categorize her in regards to genre, but Sade, the great British musician, originally from Africa, or African descent, but icon of British music and across the globe, right? Sade. Sam Cooke. Remember, did that incredible episode on Sam Cooke? Right, he came before Motown. Sam Cooke, unbelievable, soulful Sam Cooke. Lauryn Hill, right? Did that episode, talked about Lauryn Hill. Prince, remember I did an episode talked about reverse birthdays and used Prince as an example because Prince didn't celebrate birthdays, or at least came to a point in his life where he stopped celebrating birthdays, and actually said, right, in a Rolling Stone article that he said that part of the reason why he doesn't age is because he doesn't celebrate birthdays, right? I celebrate reverse birthdays. Prince just stopped celebrating birthdays. Joni Mitchell, right, another musical icon, the Canadian Joni Mitchell, talked about a song that she wrote and sang in which she talks about how we're stardust, which is true. It's scientific. We are made of stardust. Joni Mitchell, Paul Weller, the Style Council. Remember I did that episode, Walls Come Tumbling Down, iconic song by the Style Council, talked about the lyrics of that song, connected it with ancient text. Bob Marley and the Wailers. Remember I did that episode? I used the lyrics from Bob Marley's famous song, Redemption Song, right? Free yourself from mental slavery. John Lennon. Remember we talked about John Lennon, that famous, iconic song he co-wrote with his wife, Yoko Ono. Imagine. We talked about that. Shirley Caesar. You're probably like, who's Shirley Caesar? Well, you're not if you're into gospel music. Shirley Caesar is an icon of gospel music. She wrote a famous song about motherhood, being a mother, and so I used lyrics from that song on a Mother's Day show. Jose Feliciano, right, the great Puerto Rican, Nuyorican artist, talked about how he performed in Yankee Stadium and all that. He did a tremendous song, Christmas song, right? And so did Mariah Carey. And I did an episode and I talked about both of them. Mariah Carey also has some great quotes about being ageless, and I talked about that as well. Selena Quintanilla Perez, remember I talked about Selena, the great Tejana musician, singer, and artist, and well, she's into fashion too. Selena, talked about her and the crossover appeal of manifesting immortality. Remember that episode? The Who, remember, won't won't be fooled again. Their famous song "Won't Be Fooled Again" used that. Talked about the lyrics of that song in an episode. Alicia Keys, remember, talked about her retreat to Africa recently in an episode. DJ Khaled did a episode on the recent conflict, Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Talked about DJ Khaled. Neil Young, remember we did that episode with Kent State, the massacre at Kent State, heinous, tragic massacre at Kent State. Neil Young wrote a song about that called Ohio. The Doobie Brothers, remember? I did this episode, I used lyrics from the Doobie Brothers, talked about Michael Hosick. He was one of the drummers. He's actually a neighbor, a friend of the family. He actually taught me how to throw a frisbee, believe it or not, one summer. Michael Hosick, the Doobie Brothers decided to have dual drummers at one point, and Michael Hosick was the second drummer they added so that they'd have dual drummers, which was was becoming a popular thing at the time within rock and roll music. And Jimi Hendrix. Well, I haven't talked about Jimi Hendrix yet, but I got a quote I'm going to share, a Jimi Hendrix quote for this show today. What about political icons? We've talked about political icons. Toussaint Louverture, right? The great liberator, the Haitian liberator, Toussaint. We did an episode on the Haitian Revolution and Cinco de Mayo, right? And talked about Benito Juarez, right? The first Mexican president of pure indigenous ancestry, Benito Juarez. Talked about Patsy Mink, right? The great Asian American politician out of Hawaii, Patsy Mink, right? The co-author of Title IX. Did that recent episode where I shared statistics about how Title IX has improved the participation of young women in athletics, in school athletics. Ron Paul, right? The political icon, the congressman out of Texas, not to be confused with his son, Rand Paul. Ron Paul was for many years with the congressperson, out of Texas. He was also a great libertarian economist, and brought up Ron Paul on an episode. Rodney, here we go. So these two, the last two, had no intention, right? They had no intention of becoming political icons. But I did an episode on Black Lives Matter, and so they become icons. Rodney King and George Floyd were two others that I spoke of. What about magic? Remember I did an episode recently on a magician, the iconic Harry Houdini, the escape artist, Harry Houdini. What about comedians? Have I done comedic icons? Absolutely. Lenny Bruce, remember I talked about Lenny Bruce on that episode where The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, where Lenny Bruce appears. And anyhow, Lenny Bruce was unbelievably instrumental in completely changing comedy. He fought for the rights of comedic artists to have the right to speech, right? Freedom of speech, and just completely changed comedy. Talked about David Chappelle, who also had a retreat, right? Went to South Africa on retreat. Robin Williams, talked about the movie he appeared in, Patch Adams. Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball, remember I Love Lucy. Talked about Desi Arnaz, Lucille Ball, and George Lopez, right? He has a new show coming out. And Atzlan, right? Atzlan is part of the title of that show. What about sports? I've talked about many sports icons, actually. Golf, Lee Trevino, right? The great Chicano golfer out of Texas. Who else? Tiger Woods, right? Don't need to explain Tiger Woods, but talked about how he would visualize, right? He'd practice visualization. Actually, that was an episode on scientific prayer. Tiger Woods appeared on that episode, or his iconic figure. What about tennis? Arthur Ashe, remember, did the episode, talked about Arthur Ashe, how tragically he contracted HIV/AIDS, but did a lot of positive things to help others, right, around HIV and AIDS. Globally, global icon, Arthur Ashe. Maria Sharapova, remember I did that episode on Maria Sharapova, how she had the rotator cuff injury, and she's able to come back and become world's number one again, or become world's number one. Also, Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs. Remember I talked about the battle of the sexes between Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs, great icons of tennis. What about track and field? Well, I've already talked about some, but more are coming for Sunday Weekly Revival number 50 here in August. I'm going to talk about more track and field icons, but some icons I've talked about, or will talk about: Jim Thorpe, right? The Native American, the Indigenous American Jim Thorpe, the great Olympian. Jesse Owens, right? The great Olympian Jesse Owens. The runner, Wilma Rudolph, same thing. Roger Bannister, right? Broke the 4-minute mile. Roger Bannister, they said it would never happen. He did it. And then remember I did the episode, and I talked about Tommy Smith, John Carlos, and Peter Norman, who's all three were on the podium, and John Carlos and Tommy Smith gave the Black Power sign when they're on the podium there at the Olympics receiving their medals in track and field. What about American football? I haven't talked icons yet, but I will. They're going to come up on episode 50. Jim Thorpe, great American football player. Joe Namath, right, led the New York Jets to a Super Bowl. We'll be talking about them too. What about actors and actresses? I've talked about many actors and actresses. Remember I did the episode of, talked about The Age of Adeline, Blake Lively and Harrison Ford, and the tremendous job they did in acting in that movie. Also, Jenna Malone and Mandy Moore, and we talked about that movie Saved. Remember that movie Saved, that teen comedy or dramedy Saved. Also, Chadwick Boseman, right? Talked about the Black Panther. Robin Williams, the aforementioned Patch Adams movie. Rachel Brosnahan talked about she's in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Who else? Pat Morita. We talked about Karate Kid, and the tremendous scene in Karate Kid where he talks about his wife and child dying in a Japanese internment camp. Pat Morita. Rami Malek. Remember I did the episode on Mr. Robot? Talked about Mr. Robot. Rami Malek was the star of Mr. Robot. Desi Arnaz, Lucille Ball, already mentioned them. Also comedians and great business people like Oprah Winfrey, great business person Oprah Winfrey. Also great talk show host and actress, and famous Broadway icon. I mean, can't say enough about the iconic Oprah Winfrey. Dave Chappelle, a comedian and actor. Dave Chappelle, Edward James Olmos. Right, the iconic Chicano actor Edward James Olmos. Remember Miami Heat, Zoot Suit Riots, and many others. George Lopez, of course, Southern California's own, and Rita Moreno, the great Puerto Rican actress. Rita Moreno, who's won awards across multiple entertainment sectors. More sports icons that we talked about. Remember Kevin Durant? We did that episode on Kevin Durant with his Achilles tendon injury, and he's come back as good, if not better, since his Achilles tendon injury, which in the previous days, that would end your basketball career. I talked about Roberto Clemente, right? The great Hall of Famer, the baseball player, and how righteous he was, right? He was, on the off season, he'd be delivering aid to people in need, and he actually died tragically in a plane accident, plane crash, where he was delivering aid. He was attempting to deliver aid in Nicaragua to victims of the earthquake in Nicaragua. Soccer, right? European football, world football. Pele, right? I did an episode, talked about Brazil and Pele, and how he brought hope to the people of Brazil when they're under the oppression of the military dictatorship at the time. Rugby. Remember I talked about rugby and how Nelson Mandela used rugby to unite the South African people after he became president, right? The people of color, the black South Africans and the white South Africans. During that episode, I talked about two icons of rugby, Jonah Lomu, the great All Blacks New Zealand national team rugby player, as well as Francois Pienaar, the captain of the South African rugby team, the Springboks, who there's an iconic photo of Nelson Mandela presenting Francois Pienaar with the trophy after the Springboks won the World Cup there in South Africa. What about combat sports? I've talked about combat sports icons. Muhammad Ali, of course, the greatest, right? The greatest to ever do it. Arguably, I know some people say Sugar Ray Robinson, but Muhammad Ali, Vinnie Paz. Remember I talked about Vinnie Paz, the pride of Providence, how he tragically was in a car accident, broke his neck back, For some reason, I can't remember if it was neck or back, but he broke. The doctors told me he wasn't going to walk again. But he not only did he walk again, he boxed again. He became a world champion again. Beat Roberto Duran, right? The legendary Roberto Duran. Manos de Piedra. Tremendous story. Vinny Paz. We talked about Vinny Paz. Gorgeous George. Remember, made the link between Gorgeous George and Muhammad Ali. How it was Gorgeous George who taught Muhammad Ali, worked with him to inspired him to be the entertainer the sports entertainer that he became. And then Bruce Lee did an episode on Bruce Lee, how he mixed martial arts, right? And used that to talk about how I mix different things in my work and on social media, spirituality, theological and spiritual thought. And Bob Arum, the founder and CEO of Top Rank Boxing Promotions. What about fashion and modeling? Absolutely, we've talked about fashion and modeling icons. Gigi and Bella Hadid, remember the episode on the Palestinian recent conflict between Palestine and Israel? DJ Khaled made that episode, as did Gigi and Bella Hadid. Intellectual icons. Yes, we talked about many intellectual icons. Angela Davis, remember we talked about the prison industrial complex. Talked about Angela Davis, Cornel West. Again, the recent conflict between Israel and Palestine. Cornel West, who is, again, my advisor when I went to Harvard University Divinity School, as well as my co-advisor, David Carrasco. Talked about him on an episode when I talked about Aztlan. Remember, and how Aztlan is real, right? Not just the Mexica, Azteca, but the Maya that we originate from what's now the American Southwest, and also link that up with the Book of Hopi, and how there's the belief that the Mexica, the Azteca are actually Hopi, and that we needed to complete that last leg of the eighth leg of the four-directional sacred migration, coming home to Aztlan, which for me is my grandparents who completed that migration for the family. Maya Angelou, Toni Morrison, great quotes from them for episodes. Paulo Freire, that Brazilian episode that I did, Paulo Freire, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, right, the great educational theorist, thinker. Ellen Langer, remember we talked about counterclockwise study, Ellen Langer, the Harvard University professor. Gustavo Gutierrez, right, the great Latin American liberation theologian, Gustavo Gutierrez. Also Walter Rauschenbausch, the theology of the social gospel. I talked about this in a recent episode. Walter Rauschenbausch, he wrote that. He's a great intellectual icon. Allen Ginsberg, right, the beat poet, Allen Ginsberg. Jose Miguel Bonino, also liberation theology, Argentina. John Sobrino, liberation theology, there in El Salvador. Who else? Prentice Mulford, Mr. Thoughts and Things. Remember the founder of the law, or not the founder, but Mr. Law of Attraction here in the U.S. Prentice Mulford did an episode called the Mr. Thoughts Are Things, because that was the name of his iconic book. Frank Waters, right, who wrote Book of the Hopi, great intellectual and author. And Anthony Avini. Remember that episode when I talked about the Maya and the Mexica, the Azteca? Anthony Avini, a great astronomer, created his own field, right? And did a lot of work looking at the Mayan calendar. What about literary icons? Absolutely. Aforementioned Toni Morrison, Maya Angelou, Allen Ginsberg, the beat poet, Prentice Mulford, who I mentioned, Frank Waters. So we've talked about literary icons as well. What about art? Yes, icons of the art world. Jean-Michel Basquiat, right? The great, his dad was Haitian, his mom, his dad Haitian, his mom Puerto Rican. He's from New York City. Great art, like arguably the greatest artist America's produced. Mr. Cartoon, right? The great visual artist, tattoo artist out of LA, Mr. Cartoon. Talked about him in an episode. What about religious icons? Have we gone there? Absolutely. Talked about Pope Francis. Talked about Father Greg Boyle recently, right? Homeboy Industries, Father Greg Boyle, East LA. What about motivational speakers and authors, icons of that industry? Well, it's an industry, right? And they're making money. Rhonda Byrne, talked about her, right? The author of The Secret. and other motivational speakers and authors, icons like Anthony Robbins and Zig Ziglar, Napoleon Hill, Dale Carnegie, Wallace Wattles, Dr. Norman Vincent Peale. They've all made it, or at least been mentioned on my shows, and all icons of that field, of that industry. What about comic book superheroes? Remember I did an episode on comic book superheroes? Talked about icons, right, of comic books. Wonder Woman, Superman, Black Panther. What about icons of Broadway? Remember I did that show on Hamilton? We talked about Lin-Manuel Miranda. Also, other Broadway icons, Maya Angelou, Edward James Olmos, right? Zoot Suit made it to Broadway. Edward James Olmos was actually nominated for a Tony Award. Rita Moreno, who's won a Tony Award, Oprah Winfrey too. What about icons of the business world? We've gone there. We've talked about icons of the business world. Larry Ellison, right? Silicon Valley. Bob Arum, aforementioned Top-Rank Promotions. Steve Jobs, Apple Computer. He's made it. You know, talked about him on the show. Warren Buffett, right? The great investment person, great investment guy, I don't know, great investment person, Warren Buffett out of Nebraska. Ray Kurzweil, Silicon Valley. He's also Mr. Singularity. Remember we talked about Singularity? I'm going to talk about it more, I think, on the next episode, episode 50 as well. The Google founders, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, right? Icons of the business world again. Silicon Valley. Peter Thiel, right? Co-founder of PayPal. Talked about him quite a bit, actually. Elon Musk. Everybody knows who Elon Musk is, or should, I anticipate. Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball, who, I Love Lucy, comedians, actors, but also, Desi Arnaz was also a musician, but also great business people. Remember I talked about how they came up with that new, innovative model in the entertainment business where artists would own their own art, which Oprah Winfrey took to another level, right? She came out with their own network. Sam Cooke, right? Talked about Sam Cooke and how he had his own label, right? And he had a vision. Unfortunately, he passed away, stopped roaming the earth way too soon. But he's like the precursor to Motown and what Berry Gordy did with Motown. So that's question number one. Can you believe that was a long answer to question number one? But again, wanted to give a thorough answer. I think that was very thorough. Although I do believe that there are icons that I've talked about that weren't mentioned because I spent a lot of time, but I don't think that was the exhaustive list. Question number two, Beto, can you please provide a Sunday school update? Can't hardly wait. This person is really excited for Sunday school. Absolutely. So thanks to the wonderful Healy, who gifted me with the website. She's updated it, and there's now information on the website about Sunday school. So if you go to www.dailydivinitycoach.com, you can find out about Sunday school. So I'm going to talk about what's on the website, but I'm going to share a little bit of additional information as well. So Sunday school, again, you can find all this information on the website, www.dailydivinitycoach.com. Sunday school is free. Obviously, it's Sunday school. It's going to be 10 modules for now. That's subject to change, but 10 modules that we already have. And you can find the dates and the titles of all those modules online. Again, dailydivinitycoach.com. But again, subject to change. But we have 10 lined up. So we got the title plus the date there on the website. We're going to do it 2 Sundays a month, Sunday school, the modules. We're going to begin with a course introduction on actually my reverse birthday, August 29th. So there'll be a course introduction. And then on September 12th, Sunday, September 12th, will be the first module. And the first module is going to begin Abundance for All includes all good things. That's going to be the first module. We're going to then have a wrap up on February 6th. Now that is subject to change because we might come out with a couple bonus modules. We're building the plane as we fly. We're using your feedback as we go. So, but for right now, the wrap up will take place February 6th. We've decided not to do Zoom or another platform. We looked at different platforms, but we decided to go ahead and continue with Facebook Live and with Instagram Live. Big part of that is we're comfortable with the Facebook Live and Instagram Live. Plus, we know you're here. We know you're here. So what'll happen is Sunday school is going to take over the slots previously occupied or currently occupied by my monthly mailbag and Sunday Weekly Revival. So what's going to happen is that we're going to start Sunday school. It's going to be Module 1, Part 1 on Instagram Live at 8 a.m. Pacific Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So that'll be Part 1. And then at 8:35 a.m. Pacific Time, 11:35 a.m. Eastern Time, we're going to continue with Module 2 on Facebook Live. Okay, so it's going to be an hour of content, half of which will start on Instagram Live, then we'll flip over and do it on Facebook Live, finish it off. So we're asking everybody who's really excited about it and wants to get the full Sunday school to have both Facebook Live and Instagram Live and follow on both platforms. Again, you can find all this information on dailydivinitycoach.com, on my website. You can also find out about the desired learning outcomes. Those are listed on the website, as well as a registration page. So if you want to be part of the focus group, a focus group participant, there's a form there and you can fill it out and send it in. A lot of this information, I know a lot of you, and I already have a lot of your information, but I'm asking for a little bit extra, like an email address. So focus group participants, I can email you the module ahead of time. So if you want to read ahead, there'll be some resources there. You can read ahead, like articles and stuff like that, and become familiar with what's coming up. So that when you're asked to like participate in the chat and that type of thing, you're able to do so and feel very comfortable doing it because you already were sent the module information, the module details. Also, a mailing address. If I haven't already shipped you bracelets, ask for a mailing address, because we are planning to perfect Sunday school, right? These modules, and then publish them. So I'd like to have your mailing address. I can send you a hard copy of the finished modules and we're all done. And then your Instagram and Facebook handles, again, so that you can participate in both. I want to make sure that we're following each other on both Facebook and Instagram. So that would be part of that registration page if you decide you want to be a Facebook participant. And I know a few of you have already told me you want to. So that's the information we're asking for. There's also a couple questions on those forms. One is, are you comfortable providing feedback? Because again, we're building the plane as we fly, so we're asking for feedback so we can improve the modules and what we're doing, because this is all new. So do you feel comfortable providing feedback insofar as the modules, as well as commenting in the chat as we're teaching? And then the other question is, would you be able to join us on social media? Because we'd like to have testimonials. So if invited, do you feel comfortable coming on the show and talking about the impact Sunday school has had on your life? Because we like to have some testimonials, and hopefully it'll be a very positive impact, obviously. So that's the Sunday school update. Again, you can find all this information on my website, www.dailydivinitycoach.com. And thanks again to Healy, who not only gifted me with the website, but has been updating it and did all these updates for Sunday school. So all that information is there for you, including the form if you want to be a participant in the focus group. And you don't have to. Obviously, you don't have to. You're still going to be able to participate and watch the show. I just know that there's a few people who really want to help us perfect the modules, and so that's why we're asking for this extra information from them. So question number 3, there's only 3 more questions. I know we're over, but it's a great episode, right? It's like great, my monthly mailbag number 10. And it's going to be the last one for a while because we're flipping over to Sunday school. So I hope you're able to stay just a few more minutes. Beto, what is your favorite Jimi Hendrix quote? So there's a Jimi Hendrix quote that goes like this. It says, when the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace. Love that quote, right? Love that quote by Jimi Hendrix. It's very similar to what I talk about, right? I talk about when we stop emulating the lords of scarcity and truly emulate the great teacher and manifest immortality, being ageless, for the liberation of the least of these, there will be an abundance of joy, peace, and love in love, right? In the world. In the 5th world. So love that Jimi Hendrix quote. Question number 4, only 2 more. This is a funny one. This was actually asked very recently. Beto, are you manifesting all brown hair again? Let me say that again. Beto, are you manifesting all brown hair again? So I actually answered this question with a question. This is a question I ask. Is gray hair a negative effect of aging? And the reason I asked that question is because, as you know, I'm single. Not only am I legally not married, but well, I'm not married. I'm single, and so I like dating. Women who have some experiences in their lives, right? And not everybody sees gray hair on a man as being a negative effect of aging. Is that a double standard? That's my question, right? Is it a negative effect of aging? I'm not going to answer that question. What I'm going to do is I'm going to answer this question, right? Are you manifesting all brown hair again? So I am practicing reverse birthdays. As you know, I got another one coming up the end of this month. And so I will be practicing reverse birthdays until I return to my ideal age. I went gray young. I started graying young. So my ideal age, I would still have gray hair. So it wouldn't become that much dark. It would become darker, but not that much darker. So it wouldn't be all brown hair again. However, who knows? Maybe the divine has another idea and will give me all brown hair again. Not an easy question to answer. But I would say no, because I did go gray hair. I did start going gray early before I reached my ideal age. So question number 5. Beto, it's a very, very deep question. Beto, aren't you concerned with overpopulation when immortality manifests? This person, when I was talking about manifesting immortality, they're very serious. They're like, oh my God, if we do this, overpopulation, there's already a crisis, it's only going to get worse. Well, here's the thing. I'm on abundance. I'm about abundance, right? I'm the abundance guy. And so I don't believe in scarcity. So I don't believe that we're overpopulated right now. What I believe is that the lords of scarcity lie to us and tell us we're overpopulated so that they can keep their scarce resources. And they've created this reality of scarce resources, which it's not truth, right? Biblically, it's not truth, right? According to ancient texts, right? The divine is not truth. We're created to live in abundance, all of us. So are you concerned with overpopulation? No, I'm not concerned at all. Now, the solution to this, right? What I believe my calling is to rise up a spiritual army to manifest immortality, right? Being ageless, right? For the liberation of these. I truly believe others will come along, right, with the calling to address this, right, overpopulation. And I've been gifted a peek into the future. There's going to be tremendous technological advancement. Not like what we see here, right? Like with what's going on in Silicon Valley and we got social media now, we got iPhones. No. See, the whole thing about Silicon Valley, and look, I love my iPhone, right? I'm using it right now. And I'm using social media, right? We're on Facebook Live. I love it, because I'm able to communicate with y'all. But here's the thing, like Silicon Valley, right? Their advancements, what they've actually done is created a bigger gap between rich and poor, right? They divided us even greater than we were already divided, right? So I'm not talking about in the way they do it. I'm talking about technological advancement that's going to advance all of us, right? For all of us. And I've had a peek, and the peak that I've been gifted with to be able to see is that there's going to be tremendous technological advancement around travel, air travel, space travel, and it's going to advance quickly, very rapidly, to all of our benefit. And that's why it's going to advance so rapidly, because it's going to be divinely inspired, right? It's going to be from the divine. And so I don't worry at all about, these kind of questions. Again, because A, it's not my calling, but B, I believe wholeheartedly others will come along with solutions for these problems. That's going to be their calling. And it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be a wonderful thing, right? Joy, peace, love, the Jetsons, right? Super fast travel. We're going to be able to see each other. Like right now, I haven't seen my family for 2 years, right? I'm going to go back west Monday with my son and see family and friends and loved ones. It takes time, right, to get to California from Boston, San Francisco, but that's going to change. Like it's not going to take so long. It's not going to be so expensive, right? You don't have to. We won't have to be a Silicon Valley billionaire to travel into space. I mean, it's going to be unbelievable, like unbelievable. So anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and end there. But here's an announcement, a very important announcement. I am going to be on hiatus from this work for 2 weeks because, as I said, I'm going back west. I'm taking a well-deserved rest for 2 weeks. So there will be no daily divinity coaching posts for 2 weeks, and I won't be doing any live shows for 2 weeks. So I will come back with daily divinity coaching, start posting again on Monday, August 16th. And then the next live show will be August 22nd. And that'll be Sunday Weekly Revival number 50. Can you believe it? Milestone number 50 on Sunday, August 22nd. And then my monthly mailbag and Sunday Weekly Revival is going to be on a hiatus because we're going to start Sunday school. Sunday school, the intro is going to be on my reverse birthday, Sunday, August 29th. And then Module 1 is going to begin Sunday, September 12th. So great things going on. But before all of that, I'm going to take a well-deserved rest, take my son back to back west. We're going to take my youngest son. We're going to visit my firstborn, family, friends. It's going to be tremendous. And then we'll get right back at it Monday, August 16th with daily divinity coaching. And then again with the live shows on Sunday, August 29th, my reverse birthday, with again Sunday Weekly Revival number 50. Milestone, right? Milestone number 50 episode. So I'm going to go ahead and end here. I'm so grateful for you watching, those of you watching live and the recorded video. I will be posting the recorded video if you've missed any part of this show. And may you have a blessed rest of your day or evening, wherever you may be. And I hope you can join when we're back on again on Sunday, August 22nd for Sunday Weekly Revival number 50. Bye-bye. Ciao now.